Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
Another profitable weekend preview podcast, and indeed a York preview podcast. Several double-figure priced winners from the man to my right, Adam Mills. 25-1 winner, again from Andy Newton with another big priced winner. A few in there from Peter Michael as well. Never so brave doing the business for us in the big Group 1. All of which we're now going to talk about as part of our York review in the company of Adam Mills, Georgia Cox and Jamie Wrenn, racing experts one and all. Make sure you have liked this episode of the Final Furlong podcast, particularly if you're one of those winners. We'll begin with Juddmonte International, twice the highest rated race in the world. This year, it was almost a complete and utter farce. Rab Havlin on Burcastle was allowed to steal a 30-length lead as he rounded the final turn, and for much of the straight it looked like he was going to hold on. Thankfully, it wasn't another Sussex Stakes boil-over, as Class ended up telling an Ombudsman came through showing why he's the leader in the 10 furlong division. I got this race badly wrong, Adam Mills. Very uncomfortable to watch, but Class did come through to the top.
Yeah, Class came through to the top. I'm not sure it's that uncomfortable. I mean, to be fair, at least Rab Havlin had the sense at the 4 furlong pole to take a pull and to give his horse a breather, because actually there's no point being a pacemaker when you're 30 lengths in front. And I think, the big disappointment in the race was down on Seal, who just ran no race whatsoever. But I sort of think all the other jockeys were looking at the Japanese lad thinking, go on then, you're the one that stays 12 furlongs, you go after him. And when he didn't, it became a bit of a mess. Having backed Burcastle at 4-5 when he got turned over at Shanty, if he'd have won this at 150s, I'd have been absolutely throwing the laptop against the wall. But Burcastle is the only slight negative. He's got within 4 lengths, and on my figures, he's barely 100 horse. But Rab Havlin takes that pull just, I think, for 2 reasons. Firstly, that gets Burcastle home, but it also gives Ombudsman a target to run down. I don't buy this thing that Delacroix wasn't suited by this, because the race panned out in a way that should surely have suited Delacroix based on the way he finished at Sandown. The finishing speed was 109%. It wasn't like the pace was absolutely collapsing. I just think, unfortunately, and I'll say this once because I know he's going to listen, Peter Michael was right, and Ombudsman is the better horse. And we're just going to have to move on.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
That sound drop is being used on TalkSport 2 and it's too good not to use. And somewhere, Peter Michael's ears are burning, by the way, and he's loving life. I told you all!
There's nothing to really say about it. I've watched this 3 or 4 times. Even if you watch it and you pretend Burcastle isn't in the race, Ombudsman just miles better. He picks up at the 2 furlong pole and he goes, and Delacroix can't live with him. Aiden can talk about putting his own pacemakers in, and maybe that'll make a difference if they meet again. I just don't think it will. I think William Buick knows what he did wrong at Sandown. He's not going to do it again. And I think when they look at this at Ballydor in the cold light of day, they might try and avoid Ombudsman from now on.
Ooh, well, it sounds like they're going to clash, at least as things stand. Both headed to the Irish Champion Stakes. Aidan O'Brien was adamant he didn't run his race. And he's right, the figures would back that up. He was 7 pounds below his best RPR from the Eclipse. He was 8 pounds below on time form. He never really looked comfortable in the race. So I want your thoughts on that, Georgia, about whether or not York and the whole York experience, for some reason, some horses just don't take to it. Maybe he didn't. But also from a rider's perspective, when you've got a pacemaker 30 lengths clear like that, can a race just completely unravel? And what did you make of that race? Because I found it deeply uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, I think everybody was in silence and thinking, surely not again. I mean, take the third out and the results would appear normal, but it doesn't tell the whole story. I think 2 grand was matched at 3.0 in the run on Burcastle to go and win. So, I mean, I don't think anyone could believe what they were watching when he was, like you said, about 27 lengths clear. And, I mean, at least they got the supplementary money back for the third. Yeah. I do think they'll meet again. And this time, everyone thinks because York's flat, oh, how can they not like the track? I don't know if you saw the video of Delacroix jibbing on the walk over, because you have to walk all the way across the track. And he clearly is a thinker. And I don't think that even suited him. He didn't want to walk over. It didn't suit, like you said, if it was going to suit anyone, you'd think the 4 furlong dash with his turn of foot, it would have been him. But I think if they meet again on Irish Champions Weekend, will Aidan just make the run in with Delacroix and put a load of others in to get in Ombudsman's way?
That's what I would think.
It'll be interesting to see the rematch. over a sharper track and see if they would do that. I think they all, like you said, like Adam said, they thought the Japanese horse staying further would go and push the pace, but the other riders obviously didn't see how keen he went down to post, and he was obviously just trying to conserve his energy, and it just didn't work.
His race was over before it began, really, because he was very, very keen on the way, and then he was really keen in the race itself.
Yeah, it was a strange old race to watch, to add to all the others this year, but hopefully the Irish Champions Day will give more answers, but on their home turf they'll have the advantage. So
you might fluke one Group 1. It's highly unlikely you're going to fluke 2, and clearly Ombudsman is a very, very talented horse, but he has won 2 Group 1s where everything has gone absolutely right for him. Everything went incredibly right for him in Royal Ascot in the Prince of Wales Stakes, where the favourite has obviously disappointed since, but he was massively compromised by being on the front end. Factor Cheval was sent on the way he was. Maybe even a horse who, by the way, he's absolutely buried See the Fire here in a track that should suit her. She's by one of the greatest winners in the history of the race, out of one of the biggest shock winners of the race. She's unbeaten in 2 starts there, including a career best performance, and he's made her look pretty ordinary. But almost the fact that she has finished the race the way she has kind of tells you this is a really silly race. And William Buick knew exactly what to do. The Gosdens, chef's kiss, fair play to them. They knew exactly what they were doing. And everybody else was just half asleep. And I can appreciate what Ombudsman has done. I can acknowledge I was wrong about him, and well done, he's got that second Group 1. But I do still have a bit of a raised eyebrow about it, and I really want to see him back it up in Leopardstown. I'm not 100% certain that he will.
To say that Ombudsman is the better horse, I have my reservations. He just needs a target, and that's what they did, and they did it right. Aidan O'Brien was sound asleep. You going on about that Japanese horse? Yeah, he wouldn't win a Dingle Derby either. He's not that good.
Hello, Johnny Dineen.
No, I would be with Delacroix when it comes to the Champions Stakes, because Georgia just basically what I was going to spew out anyway is that surely they're going to make the run with Delacroix in the Champions Stakes.
Yeah.
Catch me if you can, and block Ombudsman, and they're going to slow it up, speed it up, slow it down, speed it up, slow it down, and Delacroix will win. Delacroix's former on Leopardstown. He's won there twice, isn't he? He lost last year to Green Impact in the Juvenile race, which is fair enough. But no, if they run in Leopardstown, Delacroix will beat Ombudsman, because they'll get the tactics right, unless now Gosden brings over Burcastle again, does the same thing. So you can't do nothing about that, can you? But it was the same at Ascot, Emmet, with Ombudsman. Los Angeles went, to me, in my opinion, has ruined himself. Went way too quick at Ascot, and it suits Ombudsman, the real fast target gallop, and that's what he likes. But if you do the tactical race, Delacroix will beat him.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
I agree with you. I feel like that can happen. Now, looking back at the Eclipse, it's almost like Delacroix sulking in the first 2 furlongs when he doesn't get to the lead. And it's an extraordinary turn of foot that he shows to go and win the race. But he didn't move through the race in the way I'd remembered him moving through it. And he didn't go through the Juddmonte International in the way I thought he would go through it either. So there's just a slight bit of a question mark. If this was Wednesday night and I hadn't looked back at the race and I hadn't done any of the sectional times or look at any of the race IQ data, I would have just said, Delacroix turns the form around. Don't ask any questions. But watching the race back several times, I wasn't happy with him. And just for you, Georgia, before I go back to Adam, is it possible that... So York can be a funny track, and I know there's almost like a sand-based turf. And so some horses just... Charlie Johnson's horses hate it, for example. They don't seem to act there at all. And there's a few other horses that they bomb out spectacularly at York, but they wouldn't bomb out that way at another track. It doesn't make any sense. An Aidan O'Brien horse should be okay there, but he just didn't seem to enjoy the experience. And also, the race was run in an insane way.
Yeah, it wasn't satisfying for anybody to watch. It is a funny track, York. I mean, nobody wants to say anything bad about it because they do so much that is good. They put the prize money on. But I do think they tend to overwater, and that makes it looser, and that's why it's a front-running track. Because, I mean, it's a long straight. It should be easy for horses to come from behind, but it kicks... they kick the turf out quick, and that's why I think it's hard for horses to come from behind sometimes, and that's why it can ride funny. And obviously there is a huge atmosphere. You have to walk the whole way over to the track. The pre-parade ring, when you're walking them around, the horses are galloping past to pull up. There's the loud music that has been quite debated this week, and it is a big occasion that they have to take to as well. And I don't think Delacroix took to it I don't think he liked it straight away. I don't know if you did see the video of him jibbing, but I thought they were going to have to go and box him down.
Yeah, I didn't see the video of him jibbing, but I do know that it's well documented that he was a nightmare at Epsom in the unsaddling enclosure, and that he's clearly a horse that has a little bit of an issue. And you need to be able to keep a lid on him. So Leopardstown, I think you'll see a better horse. Now, whether that means he can beat a horse that has the finishing kick of Ombudsman, I don't know, because he's got a very, very powerful cruising speed and a very, very powerful finishing kick. And he was a great winner of this race. I just have a big raised eyebrow about it, Adam, overall. It just, like, Danan Desiel, I know you were very keen on that horse. He's been absolutely awful in a race that he couldn't possibly have run his real race. I don't know what to make of Darius. That's the horse I was keen on. He's fallen at the back of the telly. He was massively disappointing. I had the right idea, go with an unexposed, unbeaten French horse for Francois-Henri Gaffard in an open Group 1. He ends up winning a Group 1 on the Sunday with that similar kind of horse, but I wasn't on that one, unfortunately. Although you managed to get a 20-1 shot into second, so well done for that, and a gamble that spiraled out of control. But overall, when we look at that race, I can just say hats off William Buick, hats off the Gosdens, hats off Ombudsman. I don't know if you're going to do that again.
I don't know. I actually have changed my mind, because I look at the time. This visually, because Burghcastle's miles in front, you think, they must be going an endless gallop, and they're just not. The time is kind of par for the course. It's nothing exceptional. The finishing speed's only 109. Finishing speed of 109 should not suit Ombudsman, and he's buried Delacroix. I don't think this form will be reversed. If John Gosden said, we're going to roll the big dice and throw him in the Arc, I'd back him, because I think the Arc 1 mile 4 is worth exploring with this horse. And Peter Michael has convinced me, and I've watched it about 3 or 4 times. There's no hard luck story here. This isn't an error of judgment like Ryan Moore. There's no mistakes. I totally agree with what Georgia says. We'll come to it later, but the watering of the track at York is a bit of a joke, and they need to work on it. But everything tells me that race should have suited Delacroix at least as much as it did Ombudsman, and he couldn't lay a glove on him. And John Gosden now knows what to do. You just go and hire Burghcastle for the weekend. And all the time you're finishing third, Andre Farge went, yeah, sure. Because Burghcastle's had enough goes in France for them to know he's not improving. But if he can serve as a pacemaker and he can pay back his money, it just makes perfect sense. Rab Havlin knows what to do. William Buick can aim at the target. And I think if it's just a 2-horse race, I'd still now back Ombudsman. I think in a fair race, Ombudsman will beat Delacroix.
Two questions. Do you both agree with that? And how do Coolmore get the pacemakers so wrong in Group 1s this season, and Godolphin got it so right? So first of all, do you agree with Adam that Ombudsman will confirm superiority? First of all, Georgia.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. And I actually think it's so interesting with how much Aidan O'Brien and John Gosden are overthinking the tactics. Like, it's the overthinking that's doing the damage. If they just set a normal pace, everyone thinks the pacemakers are going to go off stupid, so they take a pull. And it's just, that's where the problem lies. And I don't know how it's so hard to just set a normal pace and then everyone has a fair chance and we go on. But they have got inside each other's heads, Aidan O'Brien and John Gosden, no?
Well, Coolmore got it right in the Coronation. They couldn't have got it any righter at Epsom when Continuous took them along and Jan Bruegel outstays Calandigan, who's obviously a better horse than him. But it was really bad in the Prince of Wales Stakes. It was like, that was horrendous. You actually compromised your own horse. It was bad in the King George. It was awful in the Sussex Stakes. And it was nearly awful in the Juddmonte International from Godolphin's point of view. I mean, I am praising them, but if Burghcastle stays on the rail, maybe he keeps going. He's not good enough, but he's finished third in a Group 1 that he should not have any business finishing third in. It's all a bit of a mess. And Jamie, do you agree? You're with me. You're with Delacroix is going to turn the form around. Although I'm not as confident in that as I was Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I'm confident he will. Yeah.
Okay, I'm confident he hasn't run his race, and we haven't seen the best of him.
Yeah, like York, as Georgia said, it doesn't suit every horse, and you think horses are going to come from behind. But he's a tricky ride too, Emmet. He's a bit of a nut job as well. Like, you know, But no, I'd go with Delacroix in the Irish Championship.
Another point, I should have made this at the early point as well. Delacroix drifted wildly in the betting on Sunday. It looks as though he wasn't going to even line up in the race. And then that rarely happens without something not being right. And I know nothing's been said, but for him to drift in the way he did and then run the way he did, I think those two things correlate. I'm of the opinion you'll see a better one. There's a quote from Michael Tabor in the parade ring at York after Minnie Hauk won the Yorkshire Oaks, which we're going to talk about next, that he thought Delacroix was a certainty and he couldn't quite get his head around it. I think you'll see a better performance at Leopardstown. Whether that performance is good enough to beat a really high-class horse in Ombudsman, I'm not so sure, but I'm going to keep the faith. The Yorkshire Oaks, thankfully, was a return to normal. After the chaos of the Wednesday, Garden of Eden is the one who goes out and ensures a strong end-to-end gallop. That set it up perfectly for stable companion Minnie Hauk. She travelled really smoothly in third and then quickened up very, very nicely from 3 furlongs out for a controlled, dominant performance. She's been talked about for the Arc. They're going to split her and Whirl by the looks of things. Whirl will go Arc if it's soft ground. Minnie Hauk will go if it's better ground. And then one of the two will go to the Breeders' Cup. What do you make of that? What did you make of Minnie Hauk's third Group 1 win in a row, fourth Oaks win in a row?
Yeah, it was good. It was workmanlike. I don't think it was anything spectacular. I don't think it needed to be. That isn't the deepest renewal of a fillies Group 1 that we're ever going to see. She's beating Estrange, as you'd probably expect her to do. You know, Estrange, I know there's sort of talk about the ground, but I just wonder if she's actually not quite that good.
Yeah, I agree.
If you actually look through her form, show me the Group 1 horse that she's beaten. Don't think she has.
Yeah.
So I think Estranger's run okay without running spectacularly. Minnie Hauk has done all she needs to do. Surely she goes to the Arc. She looks like the one with the better chance to my eye. But I don't think we learned anything from this that we didn't already know about Minnie Hauk, which is that she's between her and World, there's probably only a couple of pounds, and the 3-year-olds are better than the 4-year-olds and olders.
We had a very quick preview of this race on the Final Furlong podcast, Georgia, because we all knew Minnie Hauk was going to win. And when there's an air of inevitability about a horse winning a race, it can sometimes be a little bit underwhelming. But I really liked what she did. And she did drift a little bit in the betting as well, which, given the same thing happened with Lambourn, and then we'll talk about him in a little bit, was underwhelming. It did look like if somebody offers you a PlayStation 5 for 50 quid, you really want that PlayStation 5, but you're also like, I don't know, like, is this going to be hot property? But she was very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, she beat Ed Walker's filly that didn't stay, a pacemaker, and Estrange, who I do think Estrange will have a day on softer ground. Like, Estrange is a year older, but they've had the same amount of starts. It's just a very weak division. If you look back at the Oaks, I mean, Desert Flower didn't stay, Gazelle, Elwatine didn't stay, Killing Queen, Go-Go Boots is now in America. It's a weak division all round. And like you've already said, I think, they seem to think she'll go to the Breeders' Cup and Whirl. I mean, it's crazy that Whirl was a pacemaker in the Oaks. That's what she looked like she was getting used for. And now she's turned out to be, maybe slightly better, maybe on par. And they could be going for both for the Breeders' Cup and the Arc between them. Yeah. So I just, there just wasn't much to say on there, really, was there?
It did sound like one of them will go Breeders' Cup Turf and the other will go Filly Ameriturf, and it's basically going to be determined by whichever of the two wins the Arc. Which doesn't say a whole lot about poor old Lambourn, who we'll talk about in a little bit. All of a sudden, his end-of-season target has been changed, but we'll double back to him. I liked the performance. I can't imagine I liked it quite as much as Jamie Wrenn, who took a double-figure price about Minnie Hauk to win the Oaks when everybody else was saying, World's going to be suited by the Arc. He was like, no, the Oaks winner will be suited by the Arc. And, I mean, she does look like the most likely one to go there now. There's no question that they've got these very, very talented fillies, but what did you make of that performance with a view to the rest of the season?
Yeah, onwards and upwards. Emmet, to be honest, Joe, I think she has a right chance. I think she has only one other filly to beat in the Arc. That's Calpana. Yeah. I was very happy. It's like Adam says, Burkham, you knew she was going to win. They weren't going to kill her, I put it that way, Joe, to win the race. I'm happy. I backed her at 16 to 1 to win the Arc. And I think she is a right chance, regardless of the ground. I'm not buying this ground thing about World goes here, Minnie Hauk goes there. Minnie Hauk is going to the Arc, and Ryan Moore, the writer, I can't understand why wouldn't he, and why this should be Ballydoyle's number one to take on Calpana, because the fillies are really taking to the fore now in the Arc from the future, aren't they? One question I'd say about this race, in name, exactly what George is saying, it's a weak division, is it really should be a Group 1? That's my question to the panel. It's like the numbers are not adding up for me, really. Do you know, is it worthy of a Group 1?
Whoa. Enable, Love, Alpinista.
I know, yeah, but like it was the nothing race, Emmet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Those horses have gone on to go and win.
I know.
Like Alpinista wins the Arc, Enable wins the Arc.
Like you think, like in the middle of the season, you think to be a lot more runners. It's just like there's not enough in there, exactly, like George said.
Well, Peeping Fawn, Alexandrova, Snowfall. Was it Tapestry kind of down to Gruda? Gruda got turned over as a long odds-on favourite. What's that horse that won the Arc for Aiden? Found. She got turned over in the race as well. Like, there have been upsets in it. I can't have that it's not a Group 1. That's...
I don't know. We'll see what the numbers are like next year.
It's disappointing turnout. There's no worry. There's no question about that. It's a disappointing turnout for the prize money as well. Like, if you've got a filly, what? You're not going to into a handicap. What are you afraid of? Like, why would you not just run in a Group 1 that's worth an absolute fortune? Okay, you might get turned over, but you're probably going to get turned over by Minnie Hauk. But you could be second, and if that race was a little bit deeper, I have to fancy that something could have done a strange that day. That was a bit odd.
But as well, like George said, the list is endless of all the horses that have tried to stay a mile and a half or a mile and two, and they all have failed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is a bit disappointing, to be honest with you.
But that's one of the advantages. This keeps being forgotten about, that in this era of people desperately wanting to get their hands on a horse who's going to be precocious, because they don't want to wait around for 2 or 3 years for their horse to reach full potential. They want their instant runner at Royal Ascot now, and then to be competing in listed and group races for the rest of the season. Okay, that's great, but what is that horse going to be as a 3-year-old? Meanwhile, Coolmore, Juddmonte, Godolphin, Shadwell, to a certain extent, they've all got the middle distance horses. And particularly Coolmore, they've got the best mares. They have access to the best sires in the world. If the sire is not in their yard, they can go to Darley and take advantage of the relationship they have with them. They often buy she's literally a Juddmonte bred horse. She's a Juddmonte pedigree. She's a half sister to Kingman by Frankel, who they've paid 1.8 million for. They dominate the middle distance division essentially. Aidan O'Brien has had 6 Group 1 wins from his 3-year-old fillies this season, and the best of them is currently on the sidelines in Lake Victoria. Nobody's able to compete with them.
Can I just take this phone call from Francis Henri Graffard? He wants a word about 3-year-old fillies.
And 5-year-old fillies as well, for that matter.
Yeah, as long as we don't talk about Deriz. I just think it's kind of... The division is particularly weak. And you have to see that for the fact that the Epsom Oaks had, 8 runners in it? Sort of similar numbers for the Curragh. There's kind of... We're in a catch-22 situation that you breed for speed. You don't really want the middle distance ones. And then the people who do breed the middle distance ones, people go, oh, yeah, but they always win the middle distance races. And you're like, well, it's funny that, because that's what they're breeding for. So I don't think, thank goodness we've got Minnie Hauk and Well, because if we didn't, the 3-year-old fillies division would absolutely stink the place out. So, I think they're good fillies. They're going to take on the boys at some point, and I think you'll see that they're certainly competitive with that. I certainly think you could argue that the Oaks is stronger form than the Derby this year from what we've seen, and you just have to kind of accept that we are going to get small fields. The downside is if you start downgrading fillies only Group 1s, you'll find that there are fewer fillies and mares in training.
Yeah. Because
there's got to be an incentive to race them, particularly the ones who've got the royal bloodlines that run through Ballydoyle.
Yeah, 100%. You need to be able to give an incentive to get that black type, but also win prize money. So we need these horses racing. And as was pointed out by Ruby Walsh the other day, there's plenty of stallions. We're not stuck for stallions. We are desperately stuck for racehorses. And we're desperately stuck for more mares as well. If you wanted to be hypercritical, you could say her and Whirl are very good. Whirl has progressed to beat Calpana, and she's won a NASA stakes that sort of fell apart at the start, and Ryan Moore was sort of laughing about the fact that he nicked it at the start. And what Minnie Hauk has done since is confirm her superiority over We Might Take the Long Way, who it's hard to know how good she is, and now she's beaten a Strange who probably isn't as good as we've been told she is. Is that going to be enough to go and win an Arc? I guess we'll see. She's 7-1 for the Arc. Does that appeal to anybody?
No.
The 3-year-old weight advantage for fillies is just huge. Like, and I see those two, because they think it's a weak division or whatever, I see them going that way. So what is going to be a really weak race is the fillies and mares at Ascot. And I mean, I know we're not talking about that, but one that I think will be suited to that is Owen Burrows' Warder. She'll like
horse won a Goodwood.
She stays, the Lily Langtry, and like it's probably going to be another race that falls apart, because at the moment, Minnie Hauk and Whirl are front of the market. So, like you said, like you've all just said, it's just a weak division this year, but hopefully we'll move on. And I always think the same, what you just said about the downgrade. I always think the same about the Park Hill being a Group 2. Like, you could win that with the listed filly. Yeah, you can't downgrade it, because then, like Jamie said, you've got Adam said, sorry, you've got no incentive to keep these fillies in training at middle distance. So, it's catch-22.
Yeah, it's almost I can hear somebody who's a hardcore National Hunt fan saying, but this is what we're saying about the Mare's Hurdle. This is why you have to keep the Mare's Hurdle at Cheltenham. You can't downgrade it from a Grade 1. You'll destroy it.
Get rid of the Mare's Chasing if number one.
Oh, that can go. That can absolutely go. Oh, no, actually, no, keep it, because Brighter Days Ahead will be sent off a stupidly short price for it. She'll end up being pulled up out the back of the field, because, again, she'll hate Cheltenham, and her progeny, or her siblings all hated Cheltenham. But we can benefit from that, so delude yourself into thinking that horse can win at Cheltenham. I'm kind of getting excited about talking about the Cheltenham Festival now. And you've also made me click the wrong button. I've clicked Cheltenham anti-post betting on Odds Checker instead of flat. The Championship Mares race is a race I do want to very, very briefly derail this entire podcast to talk about, because if there's an opportunity for an anti-post angle, then we should absolutely take it. I think you're right about that horse. I think she's very, very exciting for Owen Burrows. She's 8-1. So let me put it to you, Georgia. What about the runner-up? That was her first run of the season, and she was being aimed at the race a year ago for John and Thiddy and Danielle. She ran a blinder.
Yeah, I can see you saying that, but I mean, Warder's still lightly raced as well, no? And she...
Yeah.
Danielle, I mean, she definitely wants soft ground, doesn't she? They both probably do. Yeah.
I think Danielle will be better suited to the trip than Warda, but Warda is a very, very progressive horse, and I like Owen Burrows as a trainer.
Sorry, I've got to crowbar my own opinion in here, because I like the filly and mares race at Ascot. There is a filly in there called Latakia for Juddmonte for Francis Henri Graffard. She's 3 from 4. She won the Pre-Alec Head, which is a Group 2 at Deauville at the weekend. She doesn't have an Arc entry, but she is in the Ascot Champion Fillies and Mares. Really rapidly improving type. Sumion gave her a bit of a peach on Saturday. Really? That at 16-1 is going to win the filly and mares if she runs.
Oh,
I knew Adam Mills was going to say her.
Oh,
I said, would you be quiet?
I think at the moment I couldn't
peach. I saw it.
Because Kalpana is the Arc hope. I think she will go the fillies and mares, but you'd have to keep your powder dry until you knew that for certain. Because if anything happens to Kalpana, she's the obvious Juddmonte replacement, but. She is mustard. She really is a good horse.
I'm seeing. We don't currently have a bookmaker sponsor, so I'll just give them all a shout out. Betfred, Boyle Sports, Coral, Skybet, Paddy Power. They all go 25s.
Yeah.
Latakia, Latkia, or Latakia, 25-1. Filly and Mare Turf. Never mind my Danielle project. That's the one we'll switch to, especially if Christophe Soumillon's going to be on board.
She's a 4-year-old. She only made her debut in May this year. So she's obviously had a lot of issues, but it's just interesting to see that they've pushed on. And she took the step. She'd been winning at Clairefontaine, but she sort of, I'm not really sure about that. And then she rocked up in the Pre-Alec Head and was just like different gravy in the straight.
Okay.
She's, very excited about it.
All right, that's enough. I'm sold. Obviously, it'll be Colin Keane on board. But that should...
in that case, never mind. I'm just joking. I'm just
You should take that back. You're a disgrace. You're only in the bottom of the barrel now. Come out with that sort of a statement.
I shouldn't be too harsh on him, but I would prefer Sumion of the two because I think she needs that Sumion style, soft hands, low hands, deliver a one run type ride.
Okay. He was good on Jonquil.
Yeah.
Celebration Mile. He was very good on Jonquil. Justice, sweet justice for Colin Keane. Okay, 25-1 about Lakia for the Mayor's Hurdle for the Mayor's Fillion Mare Championship race. Is Paul Ferguson here? Are we going to start talking about Cheltenham? Anybody going to back Minnie Hauk for the Arc aside from Jamie? I've backed Kalpana, and I don't feel the need to jump off. I'm pretty happy with where I am, and I should have a bigger price in Kalpana, but somebody rang me while she was 12-1 and stayed on the phone for an hour, and by the time he hung up, she was 8. So I got a smaller bet on than I wanted because Jamie was waffling on, as I'm well known for. All right, Coolmore Wooden Bassett Nunthorpe Stakes. The roulette wheel of sprinters spins and it lands on number 10. It's Asafoora's turn to be in the winner's enclosure. Oisin Murphy had said that she had done a stellar piece of work. She turned it around and that she was going to run a big race, and she did. Ain't Nobody, for those of you who are listening to TalkSport 2, may have taken advantage of that at 100-1. Happy days. It was literally a race that I went back and forth on. I almost followed Jamie Wrenn in with Night Raider and then took a cold shower and realized, no, don't do it. That's becoming really, really dangerous. And then he almost won. Frosted Dawn ran a cracker, and it's a terrible division, Adam Mills, but the Australians are back in the winner's enclosure.
Yeah, I definitely agree it's a terrible division. I think Asfoora is the Group 1 performer in the division, but she's inconsistent.
Yeah.
And it's perhaps understandable, bearing in mind they ship her in and out of Australia and she's got time zones to adjust to and everything else. On her day, she is the best sprinter in this division, but the problem is you can't guarantee that she'll always be on her day. This was really good, and you could probably call her the winner halfway. You'd still have to have a little bit concern that you look at the form and think, Ain't Nobody's 100-1 poke. You know, he's rated 99 and he's finished second in a Group 1. Frost at Dawn is third. He's a consistent horse, but he's not necessarily improving. Night Raider was fourth, which I know this podcast has a bit of love for, but it's kind of... Imagine if Asfoora's not in that, you've got the first 4 horses home rated no higher than 113. It's not a great division, but that's why Asfoora is able to win, because when Asfoora's on her game, different level to these. And if we ever uncover another good 3-year-old sprinter in Europe, that horse will win absolutely everything, because those in this division get to just about 110 is their peak. And if anything can go above that, it will absolutely dominate the division.
Pop quiz hot shots. Who was the highest rated horse in this race before it was run?
Arizona Blaze.
Oh, that race is not load quickly enough. Hold on. Hold, please, call.
Georgia.
Asfoora.
Adam Mills, you've got 5 seconds. Who was the highest rated horse off the top of your head?
Can't get the other races set up to load.
It was Rumstar. Rumstar was the highest rated horse in this race, and he finishes 5th. Like, Rumstar's a lovely horse, and fair play to the Portmans and Rob Hornby and all of that. Insert platitudes. That's just telling you how bad this division is.
Rumstar rated 113.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Your guess is as good as mine, mate. I was going down through the entries for the Irish Cesarwitch at the weekend, and man, the Irish handicapper just goes mad. Any horse that wins at all, it's like, oh, screw you, £9. So, some of the ratings are just insane. That's Ireland. We'll talk about that race on Thursday's show. Gunshots. All right, interesting. Georgia, what did you make of the Coolmore Nunthorpe?
I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Go for the only Group 1 winner in the field. And to be fair to Henry Dwyer, he did tell us all along.
Whoa. He was telling us at Royal Ascot. He was telling us at Glorious Goodwood.
Yeah, but
you can't keep telling. He was doing a Richard Hannon impression.
Yeah, but he did say that she didn't have as many runs before she got here. And then he said after Ascot that she had jet lag, so he gave her a few weeks in the field. And then, she would have come on from this. So, I mean, that explains the 2 below par runs. But, I mean, Bradshaw should have stayed in training, though. And he would have swept up everything this year. And from the last 15 years, 9 fillies or mares have gone to win this. And the one that I actually think to take out of it, I'm not talking about Group 1 level, I'm just saying she's got better days ahead, would be Richard Hughes's Saadati Dara. I never thought Stepping Back and Trip was going to be her game. There was trouble in running last time when she won that Group 3 at York, but her last furlong was when she went away from the field. And I think Step Back, I don't know where she'll go now, but Step Back up to 6 furlongs, she's definitely got better days ahead.
I 100% agree with that. I understand why they did it. She was very impressive at York the time before, and they just thought that she was going to be able to run a massive race. But to be fair, she confirmed superiority over Celandine. I thought Celandine might be better suited to Stepping Back, but she's one of those horses who's going to step forward. It'll be her turn at some point. But the problem is, it'll also be Arizona Blaze's turn, and then it'll be Washington Heights' turn, and it's just trying to work out. Flora Bermuda is going to pop up in one of these Group 1s one of these days. You just need to be sure you're getting the right price about them. But she's very, very interesting and should be going to the tracker because she has the ability. Your thoughts on the race, Jamie?
Exactly what Adam said. You could call her the winner a long way out. And it's a 5 furlong sprint, but a long way out. Mustard, she is very good, and exactly what George says. Hindsight's is a great thing, like, because he did tell us like that this horse would win a big Group 1 sprint, but I just think she wasn't suited by Goodwood. She was wrecked after Ascot. She didn't turn up really at Ascot, and look, this is her day, and when she gets it right, she is a very good horse. Where next is very interesting. I didn't hear where she's going next, I presume. Will she come to the Curragh for the Flying 5? Maybe then the Prix de l'Abbé. But exactly what Adam says, I'll be like, she's 72 there, I see, for the Flying 5. Like, would she back it up is my problem. Do you know what I mean? I have a different horse I fancy for that, but I'll leave that for another day.
Oh, tell us, share the wealth.
Becarano Ferrante has a right sentiment in that.
Yeah.
You know, muster around the Curragh, and like it's 12 to 1 there, Emmet. Like, you know, if like no Asfoora, like if you want to back it now, I might have a few quid in it each way, like Asfoora, because her Becarano Ferrante's record at Curragh is there for to be seen, even though it was beaten 4 lengths last year in the race won by Bradsell. Exactly what George said. Bradsell should have stayed in training, but yeah, would she back it up is my problem. Would I back her next time out in a Group 1 because of the lottery and the spinning machine that is this year? No. But she was seriously impressive.
I thought there was way too much made out of Holly Doyle losing that retainer. It's a pretty small retainer. It's not that big a thing. And she was incredibly classy in the interview she gave. But my goodness, her season would be very, very different if Bradsell had stayed in training. Because she would have multiple Group 1 wins to her name this season. That horse would absolutely devour everything. And hopefully, one of the juveniles is going to progress. I have no idea where Charles Darwin is. But if he comes back, they're going to put Gestad up to 7 furlongs. Okay. He's still got plenty of speed. Maybe he progresses. Who knows where Albert Einstein is? There's plenty of 2-year-olds to be excited about. The Godolphin horse who was 3rd in that Group 1 in France. That's a nice horse. That was a really good race, I think. So one of the juveniles might very well emerge as a serious player in the sprinting division next season. But right now, guess up. Complete guess up. City of York Stakes, Group 1, falls to Never So Brave. Winner for the podcast, baby. Happy days. We were all very keen to take on Rosallion. Georgia, when you were on the podcast before Glorious Goodwood, we were pretty keen to go Rosallion. Paige Fuller had broke down the race IQ data and just said, Field of Gold is good, but what's he beaten? And we couldn't have known he was going to get injured in that race, but we were all quite keen to take him on. And Rosallion was the one that just made the more sense. As much as I really wanted to find some way to put Henri Matisse in there, no, Rosallion was the one that made sense. And he got beaten. And once you're getting beaten in a race by a pacemaker, then that's it. You can't keep making excuses. And so we wanted to take him on. I don't know how he's been sent off, even money favourite for this race. Adam was very keen on Marinona Charlie. That horse has run a blinder. One member of the team was keen on Lake Forest. I can't quite remember who. I wrote a piece on this on Saturday morning saying Never So Brave and Lake Forest were the two to be with, and very pleased to get the forecast. But let's start with Rosallion. This is now 4 consecutive Group 1 defeats. He's not recapturing the form from his 3-year-old season. Even if he is, his Group 1 wins come round the bend. He beats Unquestionable in the Prix Luc Lagardère. He beats River Tiber and Hatem in the Irish 2000 Guineas. Henry Longfellow and Metropolitan in the St. James's Palace Stakes. Metropolitan had won the French 2000 Guineas. Henry Longfellow was a Group 1 winning juvenile. That was one of the worst runnings of the Group 1 Vincent O'Brien National Stakes you'll ever see. And he did nothing afterwards. Metropolitan's best performance afterwards was a 3-length second to Sharon in a Group 1, and then that was him packed off to stud. Hatem's a listed class horse who can compete at Group 3 level. River Tiber was sent off to stud and he didn't train on. But there's just no substance to his form, really. He's a nice horse. He's very talented. But he's just not the star that you're being told he is, Adam.
No, he's not. I mean, I described it on Saturday as a square peg in a round hole, and that's what it felt like in this race. He has never, in my eye, looked like he needed to go back to 7 furlongs. And he did exactly what I thought he would do, which was travel to a certain point, get outpaced, and then run on again. I'm sure they'll be pleased his reverse form of Curragh. He was a length and a half in front of him. That's something. But I guess they're now talking about the Breeders' Cup, and I don't see how Del Mar suits at all. I think Rosallion wants a straight course, and I think they should be going for the QE2 all in, because that is the race for him. This race is a little bit of a mess, but not that much so, in that Never So Brave is the rapid improver who has just taken the step from handicap company to group company in his stride. Still can't believe he got beat when we backed him at Chester that time, but apart from that, he's had a bad season. It's a bad beat, that one. Sorry, Jason, but it is. But I just think there's a kind of Never So Brave was the improver. Marino and Charlie got a little bit of an odd ride from Lemaitre. I'd rather he'd have just gone from the front, but he's still run a really good race. Brings the form. Lake Forest is finishing really well. Rosallion's finished 4th. But actually, if you look at the horses behind Rosallion, you've got Curragh, who, has won a Group 1, but is technically very disappointing. Exactly, continues to be disappointing. Anaf isn't good enough. Seagull's 11's a nice horse, but he's not a Group 1 performer. Audience is gone at the game, and Quinault was just taking the chances. You know what? I don't really see how the Breeders' Cup helps. If they could get Rosallion to Ascot, you just have to take your chance against Field of Gold if he also lines up. But I just don't see it. I don't see anything in Rosallion that tells me, like, once you can be unlucky, but there's now been 4 times where there's been some kind of excuse, and it's we're on the wrong side of the track, or the pace didn't suit, or the pacemaker didn't suit, and then at Newbury blew up, and I don't worry, he's coming back to it. There's so much hype around this horse, but it's been a long time since he actually delivered, and he won't be carrying my money next time. I just don't think he's quite as good as everyone thinks he is.
Well, somebody watching this, I'm sure, is already angrily typing, going, "You're wrong. He's got 29 excuses. He's a triple Group 1 winner, a Group 1 winner, a 2-3. You'll see when he does it at 4." Let us know in the comments section below what you thought of the race. Let us know what you think of Rosallion. I think you go back. If you were to say to Richard Hannon at the start of the season, Georgia, so here's how the season's going to go. You're going to lose to Lead Artist and Dancing Gemini. Then you're going to get beaten by Docklands in the Queen Anne. Then you're going to get beaten by Curragh in the Sussex Stakes. And then you're going to get beaten by Never So Brave, Lake Forest, and Marinona Charlie in the City of York Stakes. He'd probably say, "Who?" for the City of York, and he'd just laugh at you about the others. And sure enough, you can say, seasonal debut at Newbury, he hadn't run since Royal Ascot, you can excuse that. Docklands is a course specialist. Well, Docklands is a course specialist who was beaten by Sardinian Warrior on his comeback at Ascot this season, and that horse's first ever run in turf, and Sharon blew him away last year in the same race. The Sussex Stakes, yeah, it was a complete farce, and he was the only one to make up the ground, but you have to beat Curragh, a horse that you were 18 pounds superior to. And this race, I don't even think he should have been in it. I don't think he was ever going to be suited by coming back to 7 furlongs. So maybe this one is an excuse. But don't we just have to go, yeah, you're a nice horse, Rosallion, but unless you're a massive price, which he's never going to be, he's not a horse we can bet on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is going to be my cliff horse. I'm going to keep going off the cliff with him because Rosallion and Notable Speech were the 2 big battalions last year, and how have we got to nearly September and both of them have not won another race? I think that he should have beat Docklands. If Quidwar was leading the field in the Queen Anne, that horse only wins in France. Like, he if it was a solid pace, surely he would have won. If it was a solid pace and everyone had a laid up at Goodwood, surely he would have won. Like the sectional times when he quickened, he was the quickest. I do think he's been unlucky. I do think he should have gone to France and not stepped back to 7. He was drawn badly. I don't know. It's tough. Like, they must be under pressure now from a stallion's career point of view, but again, I mean, Oisin Murphy and Andrew Baldwin just can't do any wrong, can they? He's always in the right position. He always takes advantage of everything, and like you said, I'm not sure Del Mar will suit Rosallion either. It could be just a really frustrating season, but yeah.
I almost wonder, is there a built-in excuse, Jamie Wrenn, to take him to America? Because once he gets beaten there again, you can just go, oh, well, it was America at the end of the season and it was fast ground and we didn't quite get the breaks and Sean didn't get the breaks when he needed to. And oh, well, it's not our fault. It's just the race didn't pan out. Good horses win good races. You can't keep extending excuses to notable speech and Rosallion. They're nice horses, but they're no superstars.
I agree with Georgia. I just can't believe it was beaten by Docklands in the Queen Anne. I'm still sick over that, but that's because Docklands is a Ascot specialist and whatever.
Tipped by Peter Michael on the Final Furlong podcast, by the way. Well done, Docklands.
Never understood dropping back to 7 furlongs. I always thought in my head, Emmet, that looking at the way he finished these races, I think Rosallion should go up to 10 furlongs.
Yeah.
I never said not for 7 furlongs. No, you're up against kind of, well, are they specialist 7 furlong horses in that race this Saturday? Maybe. Because Oisin was saying that he'd be better at a mile, never so brave. If the ground stayed goodish, I would back it for the QE2, because if it's a decent price, I would back it. But well, the ground, he seems to think that he needs better ground, and it's fair enough. Tom Marquand, I'd love to have a chat with him. Oh my God, what was he doing? He stopped, he went in, he went back, saw the gap, didn't go through the gap. If he got the gap the right time and went through it, he'd have won the race. I was absolutely sick. I nearly threw something at the television. The missus was looking at me saying, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Did your horse lose? Yeah. Leave me alone.
As somebody who had backed the forecast on Never So Brave at Lake Forest, I was having the opposite reaction. I was actually kicking myself that I didn't do the TriCast with Adam's horse, Marinona Charlie, like a dum-dum.
All over Lake Forest I was, but look, that's the way it goes. That's racing.
You were unlucky though, because you could go back and say, well, this horse won the Gimcrack. He beat Lazat last year. He was within 4 lengths of Sagier on his comeback when he was given a very tenderly ridden ride. They've basically been working towards that race all season, and that was going to be a pure best effort, and it was.
They even the race that lost there with Coinot won. It was only a prep run, and then he ran really good again. Witness Sands at Goodwood, and then Witness Sands finished second to, I think, who's the best 7 furlong horse around at the moment in More Thunder. But it's going to be interesting. The race I always love is that 7 furlong race at on Arc Day, the Prix de la Forêt. It's going to be Marinara Charlie against More Thunder, I think. I'm at 2 minds who to back. I think I know Adam was back. I was actually going through the race. When these prices come up, like I was More Thunder, Marinara Charlie. I don't know. Whoever turns up, one of them turns up, there are absolute certainties for that race, because there's nothing better than the two of them, I think, really.
Well, would Shauna turn up?
Yeah, well, he might do.
What's the name of the horse?
Would
Shauna could turn up there.
Yeah.
The Lion in Windsor might turn up there as well. So
forget.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Emmet.
That horse has no, you don't have to. Like, that horse has got no chance. He keeps, his head carriage is awful.
Adam will agree with me. I think Marinara Charlie for the Prix de la Forêt. I'm just thinking forward, thinking,
I think so, purely because that the nature of the track at Parry Longchamp makes it hard to do what More Thunder needs to do.
In the hunger for it, I think More Thunder will be too far back in the Forêt. I think that's just my opinion.
If the ground is good, front runners down that hill, it's very hard to catch them. Because they just don't stop.
He'd be a bigger price than More Thunder as well if they both turn up. So, I back Marinara Charlie for the race, Even though I think that More Thunder is a really, 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 really good horse.
Does Beauvasier have any chance in that race?
No.
Okay. We'll come back to that when he's like 50-1 for the race. We'll have a think about it.
The big headline on Twitter, 50-1, I told you all. In white highlighter marker.
Yeah, that's a race to probably get stuck into, but between now and then. The Breeders' Cup Mile surely has to be an option for Never So Brave, though.
I think so too.
I don't know if that's a nod of enthusiasm, Adam, or...
Yeah, kind of. I could certainly see that. I think it's an option. But surely the Ascot race is the one you go for, isn't it? Because he handles Ascot, the track suits, or she knows what to do.
Is the QE2 the straight still, Adam?
Yeah, the QE2 is the straight unless the ground is heavy.
Yeah, and then
end up running on the jumps track.
Around the bend.
Yeah.
If it went round the bend, I wouldn't run him because I actually think
they won't run him. I don't think they will run him. I don't think they will run him if it's any bit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this race was...
They're two really good horses for sides to hill fight. Right? They really are. They really are.
But you go back through Never So Brave's form. On his debut run at Newmarket at a novice, he bumps into Ancient Wisdom, who wins a Group 1 at the end of the season. And his second run, he bumps into Van Dijk, who wins 2 Group 1s that season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was already a good horse. And from my understanding, Sir Michael Stout was not well last year. So his horses were just never going to be able to run to the level of ability. And his horses are almost always conditioned to improve as 4- and 5-year-olds. And Andrew Balding, William Haggis, and a number of other trainers are all getting to benefit from that. Andrew's done a great job at Fox Legacy. He's done a brilliant job with this horse. William Haggis has done a fantastic job with More Thunder. Both Never So Brave and More Thunder really should be unbeaten this season, but oh well. Let's not dwell too much on that, shall we? Where do you want to see Never So Brave go next, Adam? You want to see him in the QE2?
I think so. I certainly don't understand why he's a bigger price than Rosallion in the QE2.
Is he?
Have them. Yeah. Right now with Denise, you can get 6s Rosallion, whereas Never So Brave is 10s. Now, obviously, Field of Gold makes that market, and if Field of Gold doesn't get over his setback, then the market will change entirely, but I don't agree that they should be bigger prices. Never So Brave is on an upward curve, and I think Rosallion is plateauing at best. So I think Ascot would be the right move, but, it's kind of, they've got More Thunder in that race as well. You've also got to consider that probably Fallen Angel might go there. It's a little bit messy at this stage, but I think Never So Brave, if you force me to have a bet in that race now, Never So Brave at 10s appeals far more than Rosallion at 6s.
Again, we're in the tender process for bookmaking partners. So while we're doing that, I can happily tell you that Bet365, Betfred, Ladbrokes, BetVictor, Boyle Sports, Betway, Coral, Sky Bet, Paddy Power, they all go 10s. I bet Never So Brave. Okay, thank you. That's insane. In my opinion, that's bonkers. Rosallion 8-1, by the sounds of things, won't go because they want to go for the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, Field of Gold would take all the beating if he comes back. Skybet, Great Voltigeur, Pride of Arras. First time gelding up, returned to York Racecourse, and he's back. I couldn't have him. Fair play if you went with him. A horse who gets absolutely stuffed in the Derby and stuffed in the Irish Derby doesn't exactly appeal as a horse that's going to be bouncing back, and there was zero confidence in him in the betting, which was interesting because there was very little confidence in Lambourn as well before the off. He was very uneasy in the betting, and then he ran accordingly. But Rosallion was telling everybody the Pride of Arras was going to be a star, and he's now back to winning form. What did you make of him beating Cameras, who was stepping back in trip, Arabian Force, who's a horse I like and is improving, and he's got form with Naran, who we really like. Stay True clearly needed the race. Then the other O'Brien horses just all fell out the back of the telly, including carrying a penalty Lambourn. What did you make of the Great Voltigeur, Adam Mills?
I didn't back the winner. I certainly wouldn't, not the kind of horse I'd get behind, but I actually think if Lambourn's not in this race, you might be looking at this form with a bit more trust, because he's beaten Karmas, who's a Queen's Vase winner, dropping back in trip. Karmas ran the kind of race I think we all expected him to, that he just found this a little bit sharp. And I think he'll be better over a mile 6. Arabian Force is quite a nice improver. Stay True has obviously had a bit of time off since the Lingfield Derby trial, but his form's all right. I thought this was a really good performance from Pride of Arras. Now, what he's got to do is go and back it up. But I don't think necessarily we should write him off. I mean, it's obvious, they've taken the step to geld him and it's improved him. He looks like the same horse that won the Dante, so that's very interesting. Lambourn, I'm not really sure what to make of that. That just looked a bit laboured to me. He didn't look like he was right, whether he's not quite fit enough. I mean, I even sort of like bullish that he'll be better, but if they decide to run him in the St. Ledger, is that them just accepting that they don't think he's good enough to win another 12 furlong race against the younger and older horses? I just don't. I don't know. Why do you run a dual Derby winner in the Ledger, unless you just think he's going to be a National Hunt stallion anyway, so who cares? Because
I would think that's exactly what they think.
Well, in which case, why don't you ever go to Triumphernal? Because that's far more value for him. I know it's a bit of an extreme example, but I just don't get it. I thought it was a really laboured performance, and I wouldn't be backing him for the Ledger on the back of that. I'd be much more interested in Karmas and Scandinavia than I would be him. But I think it would be a mistake to entirely dismiss Pride of Arras, and now he's a gelding. Kind of things open up a lot more when you're a 4-year-old gelding compared to when you're a 3-year-old gelding. So if they can get one more Runnington this year, put him away for next year, there are plenty of Group 1 options for him, and he might be a horse for Dubai or something like that over the winter.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would imagine that there's somebody at the Rafe Beckett yard going, we probably have the 2 best middle distance horses in 3-year-old division in Britain, and neither of them can compete in the Arc, and neither of them can run in the St. Ledger in Amalok and Pride of Arras, which is obviously very frustrating, but it's going to be to our benefit that those horses can continue racing for many years. And look at what Rebels Romance has done. Embrace the geldings. It's actually a good thing. We should be seeing these horses run a lot more, and maybe they should be allowed to run in those major Group 1s. The Americans let them do it. The more you look at it, it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense that they're not allowed to run in these big races. I know there's heritage and historic reasons for why, but that was then, this is now. I'm just with a view to the St. Ledger, Georgia, and I'm very interested in your thoughts on Pride of Arras as well. Obviously, this is a major overreaction to Lambourn, and Pride of Arras is an example of that. He demonstrated an awful lot of talent in the Dante. He then disappoints in 2 runs. We all forget about him, and look, he bounces back. And Lambourn gets beaten in this race. We know how good he is. He's won at Chester. He was dominant at Epsom. He was really brave at the Curragh when they went at him that day and they took him on for the lead. And now because of one defeat where he was carrying a penalty, and Aidan O'Brien was saying afterwards, messy race, they've gone no gallop, he's carrying a penalty, he'll improve for that. Suddenly he's 6-1 for the St. Ledger. He's the bet for the race now, isn't he?
I don't know. I hear what you're saying, and that does make sense, but I still am not a believer in him. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he never won a race again. And because he's buying... Because he's buying one of their own stallions.
Where's Healy Ray?
You should take that back. You're a disgrace. You're only in the bottom of the barrel now. Coming out with that sort of a statement.
Never win another race. That's harsh, Georgia.
She's only telling the truth.
It's the whole stallion thing again. He's by one of their own stallions in Australia, so they might want to protect him a bit more. So will they just completely tarnish it? Like, not sure. Do they care that much? I'm not sure. Like, Pride of Arras is just course and distance form again. He clearly wants a flat track. Like Adam said, I want to see him back it up. And racing abroad is going to be a whole different thing. In the Dante and in the Great Voltigeur, they didn't go that quick. Maybe a true test sort of puts him out of his comfort zone. Because, what was off-putting about him, it's not like he just ran bad. He completely, wasn't there in both the derbies. So... it's interesting. Arabian Force was a huge improver to come from all the way from the back on a speed favouring track, and I do still like Karmas as well, stepping up and trip, and obviously Scandinavia. I'm not a believer in Lambourn, unfortunately.
Damn. Okay. Well, you're not a believer in him, and clearly Jamie Wrenn isn't either.
No, not a believer in him. No, exactly what Adam said. Like, he's not. It doesn't matter anyway. Like, he's not going to beat Scandinavia in a Ledger if Scandinavia turns up. And like, the 2 horses that were eye-catching behind Pride of Arras run very well if Scandinavia doesn't turn up for the Ledger. And that's Karmers, one, and Stay True, is the other. Do you know what I mean? So if there's no Scandinavia in the Ledger, it's between Karmers and Stay True for me all day long. I was quite happy because I backed him, and I backed him in an each-way double with Star of Maymas on Wednesday. So my York.
Well done, Jamie.
For the whole week. I tipped Star of Maymas and Joe Show. I kept Pride of Arras to myself. I'm sorry. I did.
I know why. I know why you did that. Because you were terrified he was going to fall out the back of the telly and you didn't want to look like an idiot.
You're 100% right. Yeah. You're 100% right.
Yeah. I've done that too, baby.
I was just afraid.
I'm not criticizing. No hate here. Fair play.
I know the Dante wasn't great.
It was terrible. It was a terrible Dante.
Where he goes next. Yeah. But where he goes next is very interesting. I see there he's like 10-1. I presume he's going to turn up in all these Breeders' Cup turfs and all these races in Dubai now because he's a gelding. Be interesting to see. Yeah, I'd be the same as Georgia. I'd be really worried if they go a flat out gallop with Pride of Arras. Can he keep up?
Yeah.
That's what I'd be worried, especially around Delmar. If he turned up there against Glend again and Rebels Romance, I think could be a shock to the system anyway at this stage of his career. But going forward, where would he go? Like, would I be backing him for one of those races abroad at the moment? No.
Who is Wayne Lordan going to ride in the St. Ledger? Lambourn or Scandinavia? He's won Group 1s on both. Adam Mills.
Scandinavia.
Well, I don't think Wayne gets a choice, does he? Surely Ryan's like, excuse me, son, out of the way.
No.
Ryan's not going to be there.
Ryan Moore will be in Ireland.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough call. Surely you ride Scandinavia. Do you not? Because he's been there, done it. You know he stays the trip.
Well, last year he chose Illinois, and that meant Levy got the ride on Jan Bruegel, and it didn't go Wayne's way.
I don't. The Ballydoyle really take. I think Ballydoyle will just take the view we want something to win this, and I think the problem is Scandinavia is going to be here next year. He'll be running in the cup races or whatever they choose to do with him. With Lambourn, are they going to persist, or are they going to think, you know what, the last thing we need is another middle distance older horse who's not quite fast enough?
Yeah.
But they are producing an endless amount of those horses. I mean, Jan
Of course
Bruegel,
they are.
continuous, it becomes a pacemaker.
But they will. They could put Lambourn in as a pacemaker for something else.
They've essentially tried to reinvent Los Angeles. This was the decision they made with Los Angeles last year. They could have gone for the St. Ledger, and they're like, we're going to make him a 10 furlong horse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how they're going to. For Pride of Arras, I'd imagine he goes to an ARC trial. I know they're not Group 1s, the
pre-Niel.
For the pre-Niel, so you got those options, but they're open to geldings as well. If they go there, they might bump into a gelding of Andre Fabre's, who's probably going to put Pride of Arras in his place, called Yellow Jersey. But there are lots of nice geldings around, but there are lots of options for them. As for Lambourn, I don't know. I mean, they're saying he's going to come on for it, but I think he's kind of. Did he just peak against the 3-year-olds and happen to win 2 pretty poor derbies? And maybe you give him one more chance in the Ledger, and if it doesn't work, then he's just off to stud. And you'll accept that he's going to be producing bumper horses for Gordon Elliott over the next 10 years.
Specifically for Gordon. No one else.
That's all right, fine. Emmet or Emmet. But I think you have to. I don't want to be derogatory to it, but if I've got a nice mare, and I'm looking currently at Lambourn's page, I'm looking and thinking, he's not going to put a turn of foot into my filly or my colt. Lambourn's going to bring the stamina, and it's an inevitability about it that Coolmore have an absolute wealth of riches in this kind of area. Would we say Lambourn's one of the top 5 Derby winners this century? Probably not.
No.
I would say Golden Horn is twice the horse that Lambourn is. Golden Horn can't seem to get anything other than national hunt duties. Yeah. What's Lambourn going to get? There's nothing here that makes me think Lambourn is going to be the next Galileo by any means. I just don't see it. So, and Lambourn ran as you kind of thought he might do in the Great Voltigeur. He was sort of a little bit flat, and he's a bit of a grinder, and he's not got a turn of foot. And the reason he won the Derby was because Wayne Lordan gave him a brilliant ride. He made very hard work of it at the Curragh. And what does it say if you rock up in the Ledger and he gets beat by 2 of his stablemates? I'm not sure. So I think they've got to be very careful what they do with him. I'm not convinced that it was just he'll improve massively for the run, because I think there are better horses in his own stable than anywhere else.
Okay. Sometimes you're just better off to go with the visual impression and the form book. But time form and RPR are both very interesting. Lambourn for the Derby got a 1:33 time form. And for the Irish Derby, he got 1:27. For York the other day, he got 1:25 plus. Scandinavia got a 1:29 plus for Newmarket, and then a 1:32 for winning the Goodwood Cup. The RPR that Scandinavia got was 1:17 for Newmarket and 1:19 for the Goodwood Cup. Lambourn, on the other hand, got a 1:22 and a 1:20. So if you're back in the saddle, Georgia, and Wayne Lordan says, you choose, you pick, who do you ride in the St. Ledger?
Scandinavia. all day long. I'd say Lambourn's got more of a chance of ending up like Serpentine or Gelding in Australia.
Yep. Well done. Well said.
I just don't see it, honestly. I'm happy to be wrong. Honestly, I'm happy to be wrong.
Jesus, George is making great statements.
Coming in hot.
Unbelievable. I love it.
Coming in hot. Gelding. Get him over a hurdle. He's got no chance. I think the 6-1 is too big for the St. Leger. I need to look at the race in more depth and have a real think about it. But right now, it's going to be one of the two Ballydoyle horses who win that race. They're probably just going to dominate the St. Leger for years to come.
There's a third Ballydoyle horse too, Emmet Kennedy.
Stay true.
Yeah.
Okay. Make your case.
I thought it was a great
it was a nice comeback. It was.
But the problem is, like, the puppet master is no good, really, is this for Aidan O'Brien.
I wouldn't worry about that.
I wouldn't, exactly, you took the words out of him. I wouldn't worry about it. And I thought it was a fantastic run for the amount of time he's been off.
Yeah.
But he still has a couple of lengths, obviously, to find with Carmers. But it's the old case. If there's no Scandinavia or is held back to take on Trawlerman on Champions Day, and there's no Lambourn, it's stay true versus Carmers for me, and let the best horse win.
Well, I'd say the three of them will run. I think it'll be the same as last year. They ran that horse that had bolted up at the Curragh by 20 lengths the day, like a couple of weeks beforehand.
But even if Scandinavia doesn't turn up, it'll be probably Lambourn and stay true. Do you know what I mean?
I'd be shocked if they don't run Scandinavia. I think they will.
I'd be shocked too, but I think they might be thinking having a crack at Trawlerman or on Champions Day. Okay. No, he'd probably run them both. No love for Lambourn. Almost. No. He lit up Siren per 10's final winners.
Well, according to Georgie, he's not even going to do that. He's going to be gelded, running down under. He's headed for the Charlie Appleby snip. Oh dear. Okay, Weatherby's Lonsdale Cup. Speaking of geldings, maybe this is what Lambourn's going to be doing at the age of 7, winning Group 2s at York. Again, this was PlayStation 5 for 50 quid. It just looked too good to be true. Trawlerman 6-5 on. I mean, we'd said it beforehand. Of course he's going to win this race. It's just a matter of how far does he win by. And in the absence of Illinois, he does. He just goes and crushes everything, and he probably would have beaten Illinois as well. He's much the best in this division, and he'll take all the beating for the rest of the season. Champions Day, unless Scandinavia rocks up, should be his. And even if he does, Trawlerman will set the standard at him.
Yeah, I really think he will. I just think Trawlerman's absolutely peaked this season. He's at the peak of his powers. He's the best stayer around by distance. You know, people might look at his form and think, he didn't win by that far, but I just think there's nothing in this race to take him into it. So it's kind of become a bit workmanlike, and William Buick's sort of thinking, well, the last thing I want to do is bottom him out to beat Sweet William again. It doesn't matter how Sweet William travels. I'm going to do him. I thought Sweet William was eye-catching, and I assume he goes back to Doncaster. He looked like he was kind of getting back to his Doncaster Cup best, and he would probably win that. If it seems unlikely, but if Scandinavia did take on Trawlerman, I think I'd still be with Trawlerman, because I look and think Scandinavia got the better of Illinois. Trawlerman battered him, and by the time they get there in October, the weight allowance won't be quite as big. I just think Trawlerman, not necessarily going to do it again next year, but this year is just his year, where he is the absolute superstar stayer. He's completely dominant, and the stayers division doesn't have that many horses coming through, so I don't think he's got anything to be afraid of, even from the 3-year-olds. Just different class. And like we said last week, really, that was a bit of a gift, that price, because
crazy.
He's miles better than these.
Adam sent me a message on Friday morning as I was getting ready to go on TalkSport saying, I don't like Super Boosts, but this Denise Super Boost 6-4 is just insane. It's just insane. Thanks, Denise. Cheers. I'm pretty sure Alan Lahire is going to pop up in a Group 3 between now and the end of the season. He looked like he was coming back, but the only horse of any interest really is Trawlerman, Georgia. He's just much the best.
Yeah, I mean, his 10th win from 27 starts. He managed to do what his father, Golden Horn, couldn't do, and that's win at the Ebor meeting. I don't think there's that much to say other than we'll see him back at Ascot to probably do the same thing. It's set up perfectly for Sweet William. He was beaten 19 lengths at Ascot, but just, he got a perfect ride into it and ran much better. And Shackleton, I mean, they're probably just setting him up to make the running in the St. Leger, are they? I didn't really think much more to it than that.
He's slow. He's just slow.
Yeah.
It's not the horse's fault. He's just a boat.
Yeah.
I don't even think he'd be fast enough to do that, Georgia.
Yeah.
It's by the way, are you still stoked about taking a short price about El Rifa for the Irish St. Ledger? Because that's Shackleton battered, London City battered as well. That form doesn't look particularly good. I'm looking at you, Jamie Wrenn.
I do what you're doing there, all right. Yeah. You have to be up earlier than that to catch me, Kennedy.
Come on, Illinois! Crush your enemies! Crush your enemies, Illinois!
You have to remember, I'm from the same counties. You should take that back.
You should take that back. You're a disgrace. You're all in the bottom of the barrel now. Come out with that sort of a statement.
But they're from South Kerry. I'm not from South Kerry.
It doesn't matter.
But
They still fix your potholes. It's all good.
Yeah, and the potholes and cut into bends and all that. But anyway, yeah, I'm the same as Adam. I rang a few people at lunch over in the hospital, and they said to me, "What's wrong with you? Why do you keep ringing people?" I said, "Denise is giving 6-4 the Super Boost for 50 quid. Let's ring around there, get a whip round there quick." And we all lamped at it.
Crazy.
So yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, just a poor division. I think it's just much the best. It's easier, but I really want Scandinavia to take him on Champions Day.
Yeah, well, he'll have to give him the chunk of weight, and by that point, maybe Scandinavia will be a St. Ledger winner as well.
How many pounds is it at Champions Day? Would it be at least 7? Is that 7?
Is it 6?
Is it 6?
I think it's 6 or 7 because a good one it was 12, so it decreases.
It'd be like 9 stone 40, 8 stone 12, isn't it? Something like that. I just have that in my head. Yeah, I really want Scandinavia to take him on. It'd be interesting. But look, Trotterman is Bar Kyprios is mustard and Ascot as well. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's easier. It's like yourself. That some races that we get onto in the future. I mean, if it's your year, it's your year, and that's it. You just can't do anything about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Very briefly on the Ebor, no Melbourne Cup.
I should just say it's £9.
Is it £9? Okay.
£9.
£9 over the staying distances, but it's over the shorter distances. It's
in the well, I'm looking at the last time there was a 3-year-old run in the race, the long distance cup, which was Eldar Eldarov. He carried 9 stone, and everything else carried 9.9.
It's a Group 1 now as well, isn't it? I think they did change it to a Group 1. Because if there'd be no Group 1 penalty then. I think they've upgraded it. I think they do. Might need to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure Champions Day is now all Group 1s, with the exception of the new Juvenile race they've entered, which is interesting, but at the same time, didn't you change all of this to have future Champions Day at Newmarket? Whatever. Ethical Diamond, no trip to Australia for him because he's got a pin in his leg, and the Aussies are extremely, extremely tough on their qualification process, so he's not going to be going down under. But he was a well-backed favourite. Hip up Delacroix, drift in the betting. You kind of knew your fate before that race was even run.
You could see it, Jay. No chance with the drift.
Ascending ran a massive race. He was put up by a number of the guys on the podcast. I mean, it was a tentative thing for Queenstown on the podcast. I almost flipped back again on Saturday morning, so I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of my thought process for this race, really. But Ethical Diamond was really, really good at him.
Yeah, really good at last. I think there's, to taking a little while to get this horse right. They obviously knew it was right, given how much they backed it. Certainly, probably one of the best rides of the week. We got Peter Michael praising him earlier. Well, his criticism of William Buick, he needs to take a long look at this because Buick clearly worked out the place to go. Get to that stands rail. That's all that matters. He gets to the stands rail at the 2 furlong pole. You think he's coming. He's going to get there. Ascending ran a nice race. There's a few others in there that ran nice-ish races to a point. But there's probably 6 or 7 that travelled to the 2 furlong pole thinking they had a chance. And then by the time we got to the line, there was only one winner by some distance.
I mean, the richest handicap in Britain, and it went to Ireland for the 4th time in 5 years, and an Irish 1, 2, 3. The question was he going to settle? And he did. Could he be a cup horse, do you think? Or not at all?
I think they have a better one, George, than one to Queen Alexandra. Sober, is it? Sober. I think that would be more a cup horse for me for next year. Now he has to prove rapidly in the ratings, obviously. I think he could be too high. I like if he settles over hurdles, I think he's well handicapped off 143. I'm talking hurdling now, national hunt. was he fourth last year in the county? Didn't settle, but I think the mark maybe over hurdles is even a bit high. What's the mark now? He's got up to what, 104. He'll get what? What'll he get? 12. Will he get £10? 10 for winning that from 104 to 114 at him?
Yeah, he should. He'll probably get it away. He won by 2.5 lengths.
Yeah.
Ascending's an improver. He's got to get 7 or 8 at least, if not 10.
It's just I think the mark is a bit high for the hurling. But when I obviously I thought straight away Melbourne Cup, but then it's the pin, he can't go. Willie didn't even say that where he's going next year, and I think maybe they're going to exploit that he could, if they settle him over hurdles, that he could improve in his mark maybe over 143. But I still think that's a little bit high for him what he's achieved over hurdles. To be honest with you. Be interested to see if he does go cup racing. Yeah, I'd be interested in what Georgia said. Yeah.
Well, the county hurdle run is massive behind Carkeezy and Dowie, who's gone on to win a Galway hurdle controversially, but still, he's going to be interesting in the.
An absurd was in there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. So he's going to be very, very interesting wherever it is they decide to go. And look, that's back-to-back handicap wins. They always held him in very high regard. Mm-hmm. That was the horse they considered their best juvenile, and it just didn't quite work out in the way they thought it was going to. But look, that was a really smart performance from him.
Who did they buy him off again, Emmet? They bought him.
Oh,
they bought him off somebody when he won at Limerick. Remember? Oh, I remember that. It was a big talking point when they bought him off.
He came from
trainer.
Michael O'Meara's yard.
Yeah, O'Meara.
Yeah.
With Beechwood back in second. Yeah.
That's it.
No, great to see him finally fulfill the potential that was there. He was 6-5 for his debut when he was beating 33 lengths. Poor old Michael O'Sullivan, God rest him, was on board.
Michael O'Sullivan was on that day. It was a big Installato in that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good memory, son. Georgia, what did you make of the Ebor?
Yeah, I did just say a little piece, but I got the Ebor completely. I tried to go for a big price that would place in Almosha here, being gelded, being with Carl Burke. He hangs sort of that way around. Or I should have gone for that same form, but with stress-free, who is battle-hardened with David O'Meara, who always does well in these hustle and bustle handicaps, who placed at like 25-1. I mean, hopefully Almosha will have his day stepping back and trip. He just didn't settle and was never a factor, really. I actually can't believe how much Aidan O'Brien put everyone away with London City, because the way he spoke about that is like he was setting it up for the race, and then Ryan didn't even ride him. It was absolutely never even a thing. It
was kind of wild, especially when Queenstown then finishes as strongly as he did in the race, having been sent off 9-1 for the race a year before. That they blamed the good to firm ground that day. It was good to firm ground in this race too, so I didn't know what to make of that. I'm pretty certain London City is capable of winning a decent race, because I don't really understand why they've kept him at the yard and they haven't gelded him, and they've adopted this policy of gelding horses now as well. They're racing juveniles as geldings, for example, which that's never something that Coolmore have done before. So there's probably a decent race he can win, but you never looked like he was going to win that race. That was bitterly disappointing. What is that?
I have no idea. 1 second.
Is that at your place, Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the Group 1, shall we? Venetian Sun in the winner's enclosure gets the better of Gstaad with a pretty dramatic finish to the Prix Mornay. Unbeaten in 4 starts. She's a Royal Ascot hero. Her form from Newmarket had been franked by Royal Fixation winning the Lowther Stakes, and now she's beaten the unbeaten Coventry winner, Gstaad, with him coming back at the finish. He'd missed the Phoenix Stakes, which hadn't been ideal, and really, if I'd thought about it properly, she was the obvious scumbag each way betting the race, at least for all that they were only paying 2 places. Wise Approach, I thought, ran really well. This shaped me like a really good race, Adam, won by a very, very talented horse. How much further can she go?
But this season, she could win everything. Actually, I was kind of keen to take her on. I thought Gstaad would just get her out of her comfort zone. It just didn't happen. And actually, if you look at the sectional times, the 4 mid-race furlongs, she's below 11 seconds for all 4 of them. She's just too quick for him. It's not that Gstaad is he's a little bit unbalanced maybe, but the speed that she showed to go by him, he just couldn't live with it. Over 6 furlongs, she is really, really fast, really rapid. I'm not sure what I think about Wise Approach yet. I can't seem to decide whether he's still improving or whether he's just being ridden in a certain way to make him look better, but take nothing away from the winner. She's very good. I can understand why they're going up to 7 furlongs with Dad. I think he needs it. I just don't think he's quite fast enough for that kind of sprint 6 on good ground. But the winner's, she's really good. Surely she goes to the Breeders' Cup, and it's really hard to beat.
Is she a Guineas horse in your mind?
No, I don't think she is. I think she's all speed. The sectional times from the weekend would suggest she's just speed. She's just so fast. I mean, 4 furlongs under 11 seconds in a row is rapid, even on that ground. It's really good time. I think she could be the 6 furlong horse. But then there's also, you kind of have to remember, she's really progressive now. We no idea what she's going to be like in a year's time. But right now, just keep her at 6. I'm sure they'll have a conversation over the winter if she carries on progressing about whether they can stretch her out to a mile. But right now, it'll be very, very hard to beat her all the time she's running over this trip.
Well, they're going to run her in the Moigler next. They're going to go for 7 furlongs. And who's anybody on this panel to question Carl Burke at this point? I mean, he's been telling everybody. First person he told was us, because I asked him on TalkSport 2, what is the juvenile you're most excited about? And he said immediately Venetian Sun, and that was before her debut at Carlisle. So we broke that story. We were pretty confident of a big run from her at Royal Ascot. We didn't think she was going to be as good as she was, though. And to be fair, she was back to do so. And now she's progressed to go and win a Group 1 against a horse who's bred to win that race. His brother won that race only a couple of years ago in Van Dijk. So she's very, very exciting. He's saying 7 furlongs will improve her, Georgia. But I can't help but think of the fact that friend of the podcast, Composing, was really impressive at the weekend. She's going to be going for that race as well, and that's a 5th win in the Debutant Stakes for Aidan O'Brien in the last 10 years. She was really good, so she's definitely going to be suited by that trip. If Venetian Sun stays it, then she'll outclass them, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, I think she's more mentally mature than the 2 colts, and just the toughest, straightest horse won the race. And I think she will stay further. Her dam won over 10 furlongs. She has got speed in the family as well. But good horses also have speed. I mean, Composing's 11 to 8 for the Moigler. I'd rather her at 9 to 4. I think Carl is a good judge. He did say it before her debut. Her debut wasn't that impressive, so nobody really believed it. And then ever since, she has justified that hype. So, yeah, I'd rather her than Composing. I think Chairline's fully was keen, led, and she stayed on, and it was very straightforward, and she didn't have to do. Yeah, she was impressive, but she didn't. I think Jazz Philly lost the race in the paddock and beforehand and paid for it later on.
Well, the horse that Cape Sumion was beaten by, Precise, has gone on to win at Goodwood as well, beating the really nice Sir Mark Prescott horse on Sunday. So that form is all tying in, and it's improving. I like Composing an awful lot. Whether she can beat Venetian Sun over 7 furlongs at the Curragh is another matter entirely. And Carol Burke has won that race before with Fallen Angel, so he knows what's required to go and win it. Going up to 7 furlongs for the Vincent O'Brien National Stakes. That's the next plan with Gestad. What did you make of the run, Jamie?
I don't know, Emmet, with him. Like, he's very, very, I don't know. It looked like to me he was feeling something, because he was coming down the straight, and all of a sudden then it looked like he was going to pick up. Venetian Sun went by, and he kind of said, oh no, I can't believe I've ever seen that horse next to me. What's going on? And he kind of jinked his head, and I was like, I don't know. Up to 7 furlongs in the National Stakes, and that superlative winner will come over. Obviously, they could often always bring over one Saba Desert. That'd be an interesting race. It's 7 to 2, 4 to 1 at the moment. Those two. Yeah. Could I put my nail to the mast on wider or at the moment? No, but I think that was a really, really good race. That's the Venetian Sun. I agree with Adam. I think she should stick to 6 and go for the Cheveley Park, and not go for the Moigler, because I think if Composing gets in front like she does, she's the more of a stare than Venetian Sun at this stage of the career. Venetian Sun, I think, will have a job getting past Composing if it gets a soft lead, like it's getting soft leads. Like Susie Song's coming up all the way up from 5 furlongs to 7 was ridiculous. That's a 5 furlong, 6 furlong horse, and it's a decent horse in its own right, but the form isn't great. like Adam, like a lot of horses, if they don't turn up at the moment, like Wise Approach is 3-1 for the Middle Park. There's a lot of horses in the betting are not going to turn up, and Godolphin target a race, like unless Charles Darwin comes back or Albert Einstein. Wise Approach at 3-1 could be a penalty kick for the Middle Park. In the depth of the betting at the moment, to be honest with you, but I would be more composing than Venetian Sun over 7 furlongs, but if it was 6, I'd be all over Venetian Sun. Gestad against Sabbath Desert, I'll keep my powder dry for now. But if a lot of horses don't turn up in the middle of the park, I think Wise Approach, this is just by default, that I think he'll just win that Middle Park anyway at the moment.
I think Venetian Sun is a very, very special talent. But I'm starting to think she might be more of a Commonwealth Cup horse than a Guineas horse, which frustrates me because I've backed her for the 1,000 Guineas. And I should be delighted with that, having a double figure price bet horse who's now trading at 7-1. But she's very classy. And composing keeps on improving. So look, we'll see how that progression goes. Bedtime Story didn't quite go forward, having won that race a year ago, but she'd been very impressive at Royal Ascot and then just started to decline. She got no run whatsoever in the 10 furlong Group 1 race in France at the weekend, so that's a horse to keep in mind going forward. Constitution River was beaten by Distant Storm on debut at Newmarket, and people were making the assumption then that Distant Storm was going to make huge progression and go and win the Acomb Stakes, and those people had not looked back at the fact that Charlie Appleby has had 4 horses running this race in the last 4 years. They were either favourite or second favourite. They all got beaten. The other 2 previous Godolphin horses in the 2010s to run this race had all been beaten as well. Charlie Appleby's a great trainer, but he can't get them for this race, and Distant Storm was a complete nightmare. He had all of those George Washington characteristics of awkward head carriage and not really handling himself very well. You can forgive him that run. We'll talk about it in a second because it was a very pleasing result for Adam Mills with the Andrew Balding horse being tipped up at a big price in the Final Furlong podcast. So well done, Adam. But Constitution River did win in the Futurity Stakes. It was a really, really smart performance from him as well, and he's going to be headed for a Group 1 next time out. I'd keep the faith with Distant Storm. I'd keep the faith with Italy. I think that's going to be a nice horse going forward as well. Andrew Balding's horse is obviously very, very talented, but Constitution River might be the best of all of them, Adam.
Yeah, he might be. I wouldn't entirely dismiss Go On. I thought that was a really good performance, not just because I tipped him, but, we'll wedge that in as we tipped him at 16s, Georgia, I think, didn't we? Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't buy the Distant Storm thing at all. I think he won on debut, not because he beat loads of really good horses, but because he was well placed and those behind him were unlucky. And you could see the way he was pulling last week was sort of like, ugh, what is this about? You're not a superstar when you're pulling like that.
To be fair, he was very forward and very ready for his run.
He's done well to finish third, given what he's done. Italy's run a nice race. I mean, that to me sort of screamed out kind of, you wait till he gets 10 furlongs next year as a 3-year-old. But I quite like this Go On. I think he's still learning on the job, but I was sort of thinking at the 2 furlong pole, I thought, we're in a bit of trouble here. Maybe we've gone a bit soon, but he just kept finding and pulling out more. I think he's really nice. But I'd agree, Constitution River, the only thing you could kind of beat Constitution River at the weekend is sort of like that was a bit of a nothing race, wasn't it? I'm not entirely sure he beat that much, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and he did it really well. So we'll see where he goes next, but I'd imagine he does look like Aiden's probably best kind of Dewhurst sort of type, if there is one at this stage. Yeah,
Dewhurst type or Futurity. Something along those lines. That's the kind of route you would imagine. It'd be Michael Beresford with him. But I would have thought something along those lines is going to suit him really well. It's definitely going to suit Italy going up to a mile. He might be the Futurity horse. He's just going to continue to improve, but he needs a trip. And once he gets it, you're going to see a much better version of him, I would think. None of these horses make any appeal for the 2,000 Guineas because Aidan O'Brien hasn't won the race since 2019 and just doesn't really seem to be interested in the race anymore. So we'll talk about them. We'll include Life Plan as well, who was really good. Another double figure priced winner on the podcast from Adam Mills. Shout out Adam Mills and shout out Declan Carroll as well. That was great to see them in the winners' enclosure. Do or do not was, that was a pretty hard performance from him. Of the juveniles, Georgia, who really caught your attention?
I like to Go On. And after Adam agreed last time, I did go and back him at 16-1 when I got that confidence from Adam as well.
Well done, Georgia.
I just thought he was the most straightforward horse in the race. He wastes no energy. He's sat handy, he travels, he fans under pressure, and the big occasion did not bother him at all. There was a video of him laying down in the stable yard beforehand, so it just absolutely did zero for him. And yeah, I mean, Phoenix of Spain and Chaldean both won this and went on to win the Guineas. His father, Knight of Thunder, went on to win the Guineas. I do think he'll stay further. Composing, I mean, Wayne Lorden had such an easy weekend, didn't he? How simple was it to go and win 2 Group 2s? Constitution River, and now Charles Darwin and Albert Einstein don't look likely to feature again this season. I think he is the going to be their first string for all the big races. He's got all the big entries, and he seems like the one that's going to go and do it. He looks very straightforward. And in the Gimcrack, I like the way the first two both pulled clear. I mean, good horses have come out of it before, like Blue Point and Minzal. It's nice to see different connections and loyal connections. And it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
I agree. Best of the juveniles for you, Jamie?
Yeah, Constitution River, I agree with you, Emmet. I think he's right. He'll do the same the Bears were, won't he? And I said afterwards in my own head in the Go On race that Italy will definitely go for Tuesday. Yeah, I really like that life plan. I think he's a good horse. I kind of going back on myself here and I was saying that Wise approach him in the middle park because I forgot about life plan. But life plan is 8-1 for the middle park. I wouldn't put anyone off backing that race each way at the present moment of time. Because I think, look at the betting. Wise approach is 3-1 for the middle park. Gestad is 4, won't run. Charles Darwin won't run. Power Blue. Then it's life plan, like, do you know what I mean? So it could be Wise approach versus life plan in the middle park. Which they're two nice horses going forward, yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see Declan Carroll with a really nice horse, and it's the same connections as Just Another Bottle. So Kevin Ryan is probably saying, how did I get this horse? But well done, Declan Carroll. It's great to see him with a proper group performer, and he was very impressive. And Kevin Ryan must have been thinking he had this race wrapped up with Rock on Thunder because he'd exploded into the lead, and suddenly Life Plan comes and runs him down. It was a really smart performance from him. I think Do or Do Not really resented the headgear, but that was a frustrating performance from him. Okay, finally, Sovereignty. Somehow we were getting 7-4 on. I don't understand it. Tucson was widely available. Don't worry, it rolled on to Gestad, so it didn't really do anything for me. But Sovereignty was just an insanely big price. He's a wonderful talent. He's the first horse in the history of American racing to win the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont Stakes, the Jim Dandy, that prestigious race, and now the Travers in the same season. He's the first horse since Thunder Gulch 30 years ago to win the Kentucky Derby and the Travers. American Pharoah tried and failed. A number of other horses have tried and failed as well. And considering American Pharoah won the Grand Slam, the Triple Crown, and the Breeders' Cup Classic, that tells you how difficult it can be. There wasn't an enormous amount of opposition to him, and we knew he was much the best and that he would win the race. I didn't really expect him to put up such an explosive performance, though. He's mustard at him.
Yeah, he is mustard. I know we sort of took the mickey out of him last week and were saying he's not the best in the world. Well, he's not far off it, because there's two ways to look at this. Yes, he's beaten nothing, but then you look at the clock and you think, in a race with nothing in it, he's run the third fastest time since 1990. Only Epicenter and the Great Arrogate went faster. And he's run that time with Junior Alvarado dropping his hands at the 50-yard pole, letting him coast home. If he'd ridden him out, he would probably have dipped below 2 minutes. He's the fastest horse in each of the final 5 furlongs. He increases his stride frequency going into the straight just for good measure to put the second in its place. You know, this is like an exceptional performance on the clock. And suddenly you're now looking at that Breeders' Cup Classic thinking, if Sovereignty can do this with essentially nothing to help him, what kind of performance could he produce if he's got Sierra Leone alongside him to tow him into the race even deeper? Just different league. Absolutely different league. I don't know what price he is for the Classic, but none of the 3-year-olds are going to get anywhere near him. So it's a simple fight of, you know, with what do you fancy? You can either go with Sierra Leone, who is going to need one of the best rides that you've ever seen to try and stalk this thing. I think 7-4 is value because Journalism is third in at 15-2. Journalism's got absolutely no chance of reversing this form.
Zero.
It's a straight fight between the top two. And I just, Sierra Leone has this massive stride. So there's always the chance with Sierra Leone that if you can just keep in touch, you might have a chance in the straight. But what I suspect is Sovereignty is doing it all because he's a classy 3-year-old in a completely different league to everyone else. And when he gets in against Sierra Leone, I just think he'll pull out more. Because it strikes me that if he can run a time like that in what was, let's face it, a pretty poor race, apart from Sovereignty, but he can run a time like that with Junior Alvarado easing down. But what's he going to do when there's a genuine 125 horse alongside? He's going to go even faster. This thing is just... I look back because I wrote a preview for the Belmont Stakes when I went, Journalism will do him. Don't worry. The speed's no problem. He'll do him for speed. He bloody won't. This thing doesn't... Every time he runs, his top speed is... On Saturday, his top speed was last. On just pure top speed, he was ranked 5th of 5. But what he does, it's just relentless.
Yeah.
He just doesn't stop. And from the 5 furlong pole inwards, Junior Alvarado's nudging him away. But he's like, yeah, come on then, boss. You want to go faster? We'll go faster. No problem at all. Just absolutely ridiculous on the clock. I don't know, there's not much more to say. I cannot believe he's going to be 7-4 on the day. He's got to be shorter than that, surely. Surely he should be a shade of odds on with everything he's done so far.
Now, we're going to see Sierra Leone on Sunday night at Saratoga. It's the end of the Saratoga meet on Sunday evening. He's going to be running a Grade 1 company. Now, if he puts up a career best effort, and you could argue that last time out was a career best effort from him, if he does that in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, then it sets this up perfectly because it's the defending winner of the Classic. He made history the last day. He's the only horse to beat a Breeders' Cup Classic winner. They've never met before. So Sovereignty does have to be able to prove it against the older horses. And when Sierra Leone gets a really strong pace to aim at, he's deadly. So this is going to set it up perfectly that if Sierra Leone can win that race, can win the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga on Sunday night impressively with a career best performance, then which of the two do you go with?
Sovereignty. I'll go with Sovereignty.
I'm kind of that way as well. That was so good. But Sierra Leone was monstrous the other day. And he's been to the Classic and he's done it. Journalism's got zero chance. Andy Sterling was trying to make the case. I was watching the New York Racing Association live stream yesterday. It's basically the Fox Sports coverage, but they broadcast it on YouTube. Novel idea. The others should do that as well, by the way. It'd be pretty useful. Especially seeing as broadcast television is effectively dead. The only thing that actually attracts the viewers now is live sports. So more of that, please. But Andy Sterling was trying to make the case that if buts and maybes, Journalism is going to win a Grade 1, and then if Journalism wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, does he become Horse of the Year? And it's like, mate, Journalism's got zero chance of beating Sovereignty. And even if he beats Sovereignty, he won't beat Sierra Leone, in my humble opinion. And Forever Young's a nice horse, but Forever Young, no. You just about managed to beat Romantic Warrior, who was given a horrendously bad ride in the Saudi Cup, 5 wide and sent on off the final turn. And you're a conditioned for dirt racing fit racehorse. You just managed to beat him and then you bomb out in Dubai. No. It's between those two. So the only thing I would say is that Sierra Leone's 11-2, and because it's between those two and those two only, that makes Sierra Leone a pretty attractive bet. But Sovereignty just looks at generational talent. He's probably the best dirt horse in America since... He's definitely the best 3-year-old since Arrogate.
Yeah, he probably is. He probably is. Still can't really explain that defeat in March, but maybe we just have to forgive him that one. But I think...
Short run-in?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I just think that the way this race is going to pan out, there's going to come a point, and this year at least we don't have any of that like City of Troy gibberish confusing the market. So you'll have this this will just be right. Let's just get the best dirt horses in there. I wouldn't. Forever Young, I don't think he can win, but I think he might beat Journalism because I actually think Forever Young is always underestimated, always. And beating Romantic Warrior is a serious piece of form. I know it was in Saudi and the Americans would say, it wasn't on proper dirt and all this stuff, but no, that was horses don't run down Romantic Warrior the way he did. That's something else. So
Romantic Warrior was sent on way too soon in that race.
Yeah, he was, but Forever Young got back up and beat a genuine 125 plus. But yeah, I don't think it's academic. I'm not going to back Forever Young knowing he can't win it. So yeah, I could see a point with Sierra Leone. Like if you wanted to be filth, you could sort of be hovering on Saturday night, and if he looks like he's going to win, take that 11-2 each way and just think, oh well, I'll get my money back if I wanted to. But
yeah,
Sierra Leone has the longer stride and just about has the better top speed figure. But the question is that enough to beat Sovereignty, where we don't really know how good Sovereignty is? Because Sovereignty is producing really good times. He's battering everything, and he's probably beating inferior 3-year-olds. So there's the argument, some might say, well, that would suggest his form's not as strong. I'd take the other view. I think Sovereignty will now go to a completely different level when he's got 2 or 3 other good horses to tow him into the last 2 furlongs. Because if you look on Saturday night, the second one, I'm sure he's a nice horse, won the Iowa Derby last time. It's not the same form. And there's nothing to even get Sovereignty into the race. He still runs a rapid time. Imagine if there'd been a journalism in that race on Saturday to at least get him to the furlong pole. He might have broken Arrogant's record. Absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to oppose Sovereignty. If he's north of even money, that is a bet. Because I just don't think that the others will live with him. I just think he'll just grind them out.
There is a romantic side note to all this as well. The last time a horse won back-to-back Breeders' Cup Classics, it's only ever happened once. It was Tisnow. And his first Breeders' Cup Classic, he took the scalp of Giant's Causeway. Tisnow wins it for America! That's the closest Coolmore have gotten to winning a Breeders' Cup Classic until Sierra Leone came along. And the following year, Tisnow beat the Godolphin-trained and owned Saki. So now you're going to have the 2 global superpowers of racing, Coolmore and Godolphin, going to war, with Coolmore trying to win back-to-back classics with Sierra Leone, going up against the best 3-year-old in the world. I don't doubt it for a second. He is the best 3-year-old in the world, Sovereignty. Something's got to give. One of them. 2 champions enter, 1 champion leaves. I can't wait for it. Del Mar, Breeders' Cup Classic. It's going to be a blast. Okay. Horse to follow? I'm going to give one. I'm going to give the winner of what I think is going to be the winner of the Cesarwitch. Belgravian. Oh, no laugh from Jamie. Okay, he was laughing earlier on. Progressive Stayer, record at handicaps is 1-2-1-1-1. He's unbeaten in 3 runs over 2 miles and good to soft and 2 on good to firm. He's going to improve for 2 mile 2. Andrew Balding's in great form. Vino Vitrix won this race before finishing second in the 2022 Cesarwitch. Watch back his performance in Goodwood last race on Sunday. He's absolutely bolted up. He's a powerful, strong traveling horse who stays very, very well. He's 8-1 for the Cesarwitch. I think that's a very, very fair price. Who do you think's going to win, Jamie?
If he gets in, a Dream to Share will win.
Not a hope!
Not a hope!
Not
Why?
a hope!
Why? It probably, it's like Adam, actually, all jokes aside, Adam's probably right. He probably won't get in now, so I don't know what they're going to do. But I thought that was going to be target. I suppose Manus Horse probably no for it would probably be the one that won the what's that race Emmet called? First night of Galway.
Oh.
Of the GPT. Well, I always call it the GPT. Filey Bay could be one for it as well.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. But no, I see your point with Belgravian. You can see he's steady improving all these RPRs. About 84, 93, 101. He reversed the form of the Prescott horse that he lost with a chance for the start in July.
He's beaten July, twice in the I don't think he's an all-weather horse.
Yeah, he's not an all-weather horse. Yeah, I see your angle, but I won't be parting my money with him. But you'll get huge incentive to back him on the day because they go first 6 of them. I will say, I know it's hard to go back-to-back in that race, but I still think Alphonse Legrand was a huge eye-catcher at York.
Oh, he was. He was.
And he's trained to come back and win the race. Now, Run for Oscar tried to do it. I'm very skeptical backing horse to win a big handicap like the Cesarwitch 2 years in a row, but I think they've been plotting backwards from the Cesarwitch from last year. Alphonse, it's a genius, and Tony Martin knows how to do these things. But yeah, I wouldn't give. he's a decent price. He's 14, 16 to 1 for the Cesarwitch. Won't put anyone off because I think they've targeted it again all year. And he was eye-catching last week at York. One of the most eye-catching horses last week at York.
He was a little bit too eye-catching, which means he probably won't drop in the weight.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
But
yeah.
Jamie Powell can offset that to a certain extent. Does Jamie still have the £3 claim?
I think he does, yeah.
So then he'd be running off a mark at 90. That wouldn't be too bad. As long as the BHA handicapper hasn't decided to just shove him up a little bit more because... Well, I mean, Brant Dunshee did say he committed an egregious breach of the whip rules and then had to hand him the race back only a couple of weeks later. On ITV, by the way. So, yeah, that didn't age well.
Yeah, and to make it worse, I backed Manxman last year in the race. So.
Well, Peter Michael tipped up the first, and so you had Alphonse Legrand and Manxman, so he had the forecast. So it didn't really matter to him because he got paid twice, essentially. But it was pretty sickening for anybody who was involved with Manxman to be awarded the race on the Tuesday, which means you don't get paid out for your win and then have the race taken off him anyway. Clown show. Who could have predicted that the whip rules would be such a disaster? Oh, right, this show. Yeah. We told you all what a complete disaster they would be. But yeah, keep listening to those who'll gaslight you about it. Okay, Belgravian is my eye catcher of the weekend. Adam?
Yeah, I got a couple. So we talked about Lataki already. Keep an eye on her for the fillies and mares at Ascot. At York on Saturday afternoon after it was all over, Revival Power, who's someone we spoke about back in May.
Winter Power's
She
sister.
is the full sister to Winter Power. She won the listed Rosie Stakes there. I thought that was a really good performance. I thought she showed a lot of battling quality. She's improving with every single run. I think it's just a case that the Queen Mary came too soon for her. But apart from that, she's getting better and better. She's one to keep in mind for... I don't know, I'd assume so another Cheveley Park, but I'd imagine they'll have a Newmarket race in mind for her at some point, try and pick up a bit more black type. But she could be one that makes up into a really nice 6 furlong horse for next season. And then one more, which was yesterday in the Curragh at Deauville, my old mate Double Major, I've got a real soft spot for. I always seem to forget that this horse is absolutely useless in the first half of the year. Keeps getting turned over at short prices. You think, oh, what's going on? But he kind of scrambled home yesterday, but he showed a lot more like it. He is in the Gladiateur, but I noticed he's also got an Irish St. Ledger entry, and he's a tough, gutsy front runner when he's on his day. If he went to the Irish Ledger, he'd be a danger to all of them, and he's worth keeping in mind because he generally wins the Prix Royal Oak, which is the sort of 3,000 metre last Group 1 of the season in France for the old horses. But it's interesting that the Wertheimers have put him in that Irish Ledger. I went back and I can't see that he's an entry before. He's a serious Group 1 performer at this time of year, and he's certainly one to be afraid of because front runners do so well at the Curragh.
Okay. Double major for the Irish St. Ledger. Georgia?
I'm going to stick with Richard Hughes' Saradati Darian. I just don't think the step back and trip was ever going to be for her. I'm not saying it's going to be at Group 1 level, but she's definitely got plenty of upside back up and trip, and I'm not actually sure where she's going to go next either. But she was so outpaced, and then she was trying to make ground the whole time. So yeah, I would say she will definitely win more races.
And Jamie?
Oh yeah, Alphonse Legrand within in that race on the Wednesday 2-mile stairs race at York. Very eye-catching when it comes forward to the trying to win back-to-back Cesarwitch.
Tony Martin at it again, landing a big touch for the punters. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Your support of the show means a lot to us. If you haven't liked this episode already, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the Final Furlong podcast yet, do so as well. Again, we're looking for more subscribers. Lots of you are watching. You're not pressing the subscribe button. Come on in. We keep giving you all these big price winners. Keep giving you all these banter and laughs and great insight. Hit the subscribe button. Join the Final Furlong podcast gravy train. From Adam Mills, Georgia Cox, Jamie Wrenn, and me, Emmet Kennedy. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again on Thursday with our weekend preview. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
Thanks for spending some time with us on the Final Furlong podcast. We're independent media, so if you like what we do, hit like, share, and subscribe. It's free, it's quick, and it genuinely helps. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major platforms, and join us on the gravy train. The Final Furlong podcast, independent, unfiltered, and powered by you.